going on, everybody? I'm here at Prospera Place with the voice of the Kelowna Rockets, Regan Bartel. Regan, obviously, you've been around the CHL and the WHL for a good amount of time now, 22 or 24 years now, if my memory serves me correctly. Obviously, seen a lot of talented hockey players in that time. What's kind of been some moments or some points in time that have stood out for you?
Oh man, there's been so many, right? Yeah, 25th year here with the Rockets. I started way back in 1995 as the play-by-play voice of the Swift Broncos. So it's been fun because I've seen so many spectacular players over the years. You know, Ryan Getzlaf, when he came into the WHL with Calgary Hitman, he was a scary player, right? Every time he had the puck on his stick, you're like, whoa. I mean, there's a good thing that's going to happen there. The Kootenay Ice had Nigel Dawes, who was really, really good. The Rockets have had so many great players. Your Tyler Myers, your Tyson Barrie, your Tyson Bailey, for that matter, right? A real clutch player.
Yeah.
Duncan Keith in his short time here in a Rocket uniform. Leon Draisaitl, Andrew Crystal. But have there been any highlights? Well, there's been a lot of championships. When you look at all the red banners across from where we're situated, so many championships, so many Memorial Cups, so many great memories, and so many individuals you meet over your time.
Absolutely.
As a broadcaster, that's the cool part, to get to know these 16 to 20-year-olds and to see them then go on to either a pro career or even just getting into the business world. Seeing them excel at what they're doing today, to me, that at the end of the day is really rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, it's much more than just hockey at the end of the day, like you said. And then you mentioned, like, being around for all the banners and stuff you see in the stands here. Obviously, like, probably the one that sticks out in particular is the big white Memorial Cup banner in 2004. Remember, for me as a young hockey fan, that's a pretty elite era of Rockets hockey. What was it like for you to be able to be a part of that, the 2004 run?
It was amazing. Okay, here's the ring right there. That is the Memorial Cup ring from 2004.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, the organization, they actually gave me a championship ring. I did not expect that to happen. It actually says Bartel on it. It says radio on it. And I just thought it was great to be a part of that experience. But to get to the Memorial Cup ring as a broadcaster was just I don't know, icing on the cake, I guess you can put it that way. But back to 04, it was funny because that was the second Memorial Cup that I was involved in, because the Rockets that previous year were in Quebec City in 2003,
right,
where again they did not win the tournament, but we knew that we were going to host in 2004, and the city came so alive. It was just electric, and it was interesting how the city fell in love with the Kelowna Rocket organization. I mean, there was a good fan base even at the time prior to the tournament, but in 04, it really clicked in that this was the hot spot too. You wanted to be seen at Prospera Place. You wanted to be drinking wine at Prospera Place, watching the hockey team. It was just such a great vibe. So I'm hoping that 2026 will match what we saw in 2004, and if it does, we're in for a tremendous treat.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if you factor in, say, on the off chance that, like, guys like the Gavin McKennas and the Ryder Richies and those sorts of guys of the world don't make the jump to the next level, could potentially see them in Prospera Place for the Memorial Cup tournament. It'd be a little bit early 2000s-esque when the tournament featured guys like Sidney Crosby and those sorts of players, which would be very fun to watch, I think, for hockey fans in the Okanagan. And for you, Regan, I know, like, it's been a big thing I've seen on social media recently where, like, play-by-play guys and stuff for the away teams, like, how long it takes them to get up to the press box. How long does that journey take for you? Have you ever timed it?
I've never timed it here, but I can tell you one thing. There's a couple of locations across the WHL where it is extremely hard to get to the broadcast location. The first year that I was in the WHL with the Swift Bronco organization at the time, we were playing the Calgary Hitmen at what was then known as the Saddle Dome.
Yeah.
And so I had no clue where the broadcast booth was located. I knew it was way up in the rafters, but I didn't know how to get there. You have to find an elevator that scoots you up to a certain level, and then you have to walk across the scoreboard, and like, it's way up there. I mean, if you're scared of heights, you're in a lot of trouble. So going across the scoreboard was a little freaky. And then the intermission, I have to go to the washroom. I got no clue where the bathroom is. And so I walked again back to where I came from, across the scoreboard. It was only years later I found out there was actually a washroom just behind me. I mean, it was an easy walk. But again, you come to these rinks when you're a rookie, even a rookie broadcaster, you really don't know where to go, what to do. But Prospera Place, when you go up to the broadcast booth here, very easy in compared to what takes place in Calgary.
That's fair. If you had to choose a favorite rink you've been able to do play-by-play, and that's not Prospera Place or Swift Current's rink, what would you choose?
I would think Everett's really good, just because the fan base there, they're crazy. I mean, there's a lot of bells. They're, chiming, ringing. The fans are allowed to have bells, cowbells in the arena, and they get excited for absolutely everything that happens. It can be a fight, of course. I think everybody gets jacked up when there's a tussle on the ice surface. But even when the teams, when they get the puck and they move it into the offensive zone, the crowd actually comes alive. It's amazing. It's weird for us as Canadians to see that happen, because we're just kind of watching with our arms folded. And, okay, we're going to let the play develop. But again, the American-based fans are really, really excitable. That's what I like about it. But I also like the George point. The Everett Silvertip broadcast booth is pretty much ideal. Not too high, not too close to the ice surface. To me, it's just right. Essentially, I'm right at center ice. I always get a good vibe in that building. I just wish the Rockets would have more success there. It's a building where it's tough to win, right? Because Everett's been so good on home ice over the years. Yeah. But again, a tremendous building. And I'd say anytime you go to the States in general, I guess the fan base, they electrify the building. Even if it looks a little dull on the ice, the fans kind of bring it. That's what makes the game so exciting.
You mentioned the U.S. teams being pretty hard to beat in their ranks. Obviously, you look at a team like Spokane that was already doing quite well at the start of the season for themselves, and then they've gone and further doubled down on that by going and getting guys like Andrew Christa and putting him on the line with Van Olm and Berkeley Catenow. Obviously, kind of adds a little bit of gas to the fire per se if you're like a team like the Rockets going to play them in Spokane, or even like a team like Seattle going and playing them in Seattle. I know that's quite a trip and probably a pretty hard barn to win in. A couple more questions here for you, Regan. If you had to choose like a favorite player or like a favorite era of like Rockets hockey that you've been a part of, what would it be? I'm guessing probably the early 2000s, unfortunately.
Right, yeah. It would be the obvious, right? Because the Rockets went to 3 consecutive Memorial Cups. That was very odd. I mean, you break it down. When you're going to Quebec City in 03, you host in 04, then you go to London, Ontario in 2005. At the time, I probably didn't appreciate the run that the Rockets were on at that point. I remember like Tyler Spurgeon, Blake Como, Mike Hard, they were all 16-year-olds. Like, this is back in, I think, 03, if I've got my dates right. So these young 16-year-olds were just getting better and better and better and better, and hence that's why the Rockets were on that massive run that they were. And then you go back in 09 again, you go back in 2015. It's very unusual for an organization to have this type of success, and that's why the bar has been raised so high. That's why the fan base here says, we need to win a WHL title. It's been so long. Well, it hasn't been that long. It's only been 2015, right?
Yeah.
So...
Or 2018 since we won the division, I guess, which is not that long ago.
It's true, right? And so I think because, you have that winning pedigree, that winning formula, the fans get, I think, a little spoiled, to be totally honest with you. But yeah, when you talk about the era, though, clearly it would have been the early 2000s as you saw the team transpire into a power, into an envy, I think, when you look at other teams looking at the Kelowna Rockets on the outside. They go, holy smokes, this organization has it going on. They got to be really respected because they're power pretty much every year, and that's exactly what they were.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, too, that era of Rockets hockey featured a lot of guys who went on to have very long and successful NHL careers, like guys like Shea Weber and Josh Georges, and then there's guys who are still even playing today, like the Tyler Myers of the world. I'm sure that must have been pretty interesting for you as a play-by-play guy to get to call those names and kind of look back on it now and see them having successful careers in the NHL.
It was amazing, right? I remember talking to Tyler Myers as a 15-year-old. You had a chance to talk to Tyler Myers this summer. I interviewed him at 15. He was an affiliated player. Didn't know much about him. He was a skinny, lanky defenseman that the Rockets were hoping someday would be a real good blue liner, which he turned out to be.
Yeah.
And I remember doing the interview with Danny Lethbridge, and he couldn't put 2 words together. He really struggled in the interview, right? And I understand it. I mean, here I put my microphone into his face. I thought at the time, okay, we're gonna have to work with this guy. Hopefully it'll become a better interview as he gets older, and that's exactly what he did. As he became a better hockey player, he became a better interview. And so in the end, of course, he's in the National Hockey League playing today, playing 1,000 games at the NHL level. But it was cool to see these guys, not great players at 16, 17, or 18, but then in their 19-year-old season, it's like this flower opening up. And they just became what we thought they would become. And Shea Weber was like that too. Webbs was good at 18. Wasn't great at 17 though, let's remember that. But at 19, he was a stud. He was a power. He would pound people. And he was scary to play against. That's the cool part, is to see these players transform again in their 19 and their 20 seasons.
Absolutely. Well, I think the thing that's interesting from my perspective is obviously like having grown up watching guys like Shea Weber play. Like I even got to watch him when I was like a little kid play junior B back in Sicamous. So to see him kind of go from that to playing in my hometown team and having the success that he did, to even now bumping into him like in local rinks every now and then, it's such a fun dynamic, and it's always nice when I get a chance to like chat with those guys, even like a hey, how are you doing, and just catch up with them for a few minutes and just see where they're at now in life. One more question for you, Regan. If you were to give a fun fact about yourself, what would it be that's not hockey related?
It would probably be that I am a germaphobe.
Really?
Yeah, I would say that would probably be. Is it a fun fact? No. But during the winter, no word of a lie. And I love the parents of the Kelowna Rocket players, especially at Christmas. You get a lot of baking that the players bring on the bus.
Absolutely.
And I travel with the team. There's a lot of fans that go, "You travel with the team?" Yeah, I travel with the team on the team bus. But the players will come, especially during Christmas, and usually we're on a Saskatchewan, Alberta road trip at the time.
Yeah.
And so they're offering these goodies that Mom made. They look spectacular. They look delicious. But you want to know what? I've just been in the arena. I've been shaking everybody's hands. I've been grabbing
Going and touching all these cookies and whatnot.
I've been grabbing every doorknob, and as a germaphobe, I can't eat the goodies unless I wash my hands. It's something up here, I know. But again, I don't like to get sick during the winter. I got to be healthy. Voice has got to be good, right? I mean, I try to avoid colds as best I can. So probably being a germaphobe, it sucks to be one, but that's the way it is.
That's fair. Well, thank you very much for your time, Regan. I appreciate it.